Today we're looking at command number 3 in this series about the 10 words, the 10 commandments, they're called. And we started at the back end, the end, and we're working our way. So we got, after today, we got 2 more lessons of commandments. The only commandment that God says He will not forgive the breaking of is this: you shall not take the Lord's name in vain. And we don't often hear the last part of that statement. It says, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. We need to look closely at this commandment this morning so we can understand what he means. We make a huge mistake when we get sloppy with the name of our Father. I should say to begin with, the word God is not it's not his name. It's who he is. Okay? Like I'm man, but my name is Dell. And that's what we're saying here. We use the phrase or the term God quite often, but that's not his name. More accurately, the YHVH, the Tetragrammaton, that's a big $5 word, is often substituted for his name, but that's really not his name. It represents his name, although no one knows exactly how to pronounce it. The Jews won't even try to say it because it's too holy. But they'll substitute something like Hashem, which means the name, or they'll say the Holy One. Many Christians use the word Jehovah or Lord, all capitals. In Exodus chapter 3, verse 14, God tells Moses when he first goes to Egypt to free the people from Pharaoh's rule and their slavery, he tells Moses to just, because Moses throws it up and said, who am I going to say sent me? And he says, my name is I am. Just tell them I am sent you when they ask. I am who I am, and I will be who I will be. That's what he says. In Isaiah 42, verse 8, God says, I am the Lord, that is my name. And my glory I will give to not give to another, nor my praise to any graven image. His glory is wrapped up in his name. We have to handle it with care. Another definition we need to look at in this regard is the word vain. How do we use his name in vain? Its first meaning is having no real value or significance. It means worthless or hollow, empty, having no good purpose. And the second meaning of vain is without force or effect. Just kind of blah. No power, it's futile or fruitless or unprofitable. None of these terms should be used in reference to the Lord. They describe the exact opposite of his character. If someone holds these descriptions or descriptors about our God and our Father, it shows they have no knowledge of who he is or what he is like. One would have to decide that contrary to the evidence of who he is. Now, could God possibly forgive lying and stealing or dishonoring our parents, possibly even murder, and yet condemn us for using his name disrespectfully? It's kind of what it sounds like, isn't it? We need to understand this because we speak of God quite often, maybe several times a day, and we use his name, and what we want is his personal attention We ask or tell him what we want him to do about a situation or another person. Being part of his family, and sometimes I think we don't understand that we're his family, and that carries some weight with what we ask of him. We may use his name lightly or even disrespectfully. Actually, at times we're just sloppy in the way we use it. We need to be careful. The phrases like, oh God, or oh my God, we hear that more than frequently. The letters OMG, if you're on social media very much, those three letters get worn out in text messages and stuff. These are needless and thoughtless fillers used for any and everything. And brothers and sisters, this ought not to be true for us to use those things. We ought to have better things to say or say nothing. Let me read you something from Matthew chapter 12, verse 36 and 7. What do you think? But I say to you, this is Jesus speaking, I say to you that for every idle word men may speak, they will give an account on the day of judgment. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. That's what he said. Jesus says that we will give an account for our idle words. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God. That's the wording that the New International Version used for this passage, for this commandment. We should not use empty or frivolous or thoughtless words or phrases to express ourselves, especially about him. Blasphemy is also a misuse of God's name. In Colossians chapter 3, Paul tells us to put off all of these things: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, and filthy language out of your mouth. And again in Matthew 12, it illustrates what blasphemy is. And I'll read you a couple of verses here. Then one was brought to him who was demon-possessed, blind and mute, and he healed him, so that the mute man both spoke and saw. And all the multitude were amazed and said, could this be the son of David? But when the Pharisees heard it, they said, this fellow does not cast out demons except by Beelzebub, the ruler of demons. To blaspheme is to give credit for something that God does God does or has done to someone else or to something other than God. This constitutes gross misuse of his name, and he says he won't forgive that, and he won't hold him guiltless. It uses that. The commandment prohibits swearing falsely in God's name, but it does not forbid us to talk about our Father. We should talk about him and to him, but in very respectful, humble tones, remembering who he is. We can begin to see why, out of all the 10 words, that is the commandments, God will not forgive us if we violate his command. It's being completely disrespectful. There is another side to this commandment. The actual word which gets translated take is the Hebrew word tisah, T-I-S-A-H, and it means to lift or to carry. It's usually translated take, like in this passage. We use it similar nowadays, I will take out the trash. Means you pick it up and you carry it out. And that's the same that this word means, to pick up and to carry out. If you think about it, we do the same in English. I might tell you that I'm going to take my child to the doctor this afternoon, but I could just as easily say and communicate the same thing if I said I'm going to carry my child to the doctor this afternoon. And around here in Macon County and Clay County, that would not be unusual for people to word that statement in that very way. But we should be able to understand what God our Father is trying to communicate to us in Exodus 20. Don't lift up or don't carry God's name or take God's name to places or into situations where it doesn't belong. You are God's child. You carry His name, just like you do for your earthly father. How do you behave in your community, in your home, in your workplace, the places you frequent, like schools, gym, or the market? How do you behave? As Christians, we are God's covenant people. He has given us His name and separated us out of our culture and reserved us for Himself. Our behavior, where we go, what we do, what we say, it all reflects back on Him. 1 Thessalonians 5, Paul says, abstain from every form of evil. We need to hear that message. God has said long ago, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and forgive their sin and heal their land. That's our Father's idea of good news, gospel. Jesus came and He repeats it in this way. Come unto me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you'll find rest for your souls. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. Don't make the mistake of waiting till Judgment Day to say, oops, I'm sorry. He's watching now. How we live and what we say. A quick apology does not offset or change a life of bullheaded, sinful behavior. If you need to make things right with your Father in the heavens, would you come let us help you with that as we stand in the